so much. I never liked going up after all these talented people because I'm like, I can't top that. Like, there's just so much talent in this room. Give yourself one more. So I want to thank Professor Henderson and Professor Pearson for having me here today. I love coming out and talking to the community. I'm from here, right? So I'm from across the bridge, right over there in Oakland, right? Any Oakland people in the house? Yeah, you should go ahead and pass those out. So yeah, I'm from Oakland, and I love coming back to the community colleges. As Professor Henderson talked about, I was a community college student. So I'm going to tell you today a little bit about St. Mary's College and some of the work we're doing over there. But just to yeah, go Gale, right? But just to give you sort of a, can you hear me from here if I were to move over this way? Right. I might use my teacher voice for a little bit of this. I like to be free a little bit sometimes. So before I go into what we do at St. Mary's, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, because I really think it helps inform the work that I do and give you the reason why I'm doing what I do. It's not just a job for me. It's a passion. It's what I've been called to do. It's what I'm fortunate enough to be able to be in the position to do. All right. So like I said, I'm from Oakland. I'm not from, new wine bar Oakland. I'm not from kombucha Oakland. I'm from Oakland from 1980 Oakland, right? Old Oakland. And I like the new Oakland now. It's real nice, but it's different. And so when I grew up, I had many of the same issues that a lot of young black men from Oakland face. I was raised by a single mother. I had absentee father. He died when I was very young. And I was lucky enough that I had, I still have, an amazing mother who fought like hell to make sure that I did well. So I'm going to ask you for one more round of applause for her. I had my ups and downs, and I made it through high school, but we were still poor, and I think when I was growing up, we lived in a renovated storage shed at some point, right? And then from there, we moved on to someone's sort of renovated basement apartment. I have a very clear recollection of thinking like everybody in my world was so tall because they could touch the ceiling. I was like, wow, how are you so tall you can touch the ceiling? Turns out the ceiling wasn't that tall. They were normal height. But when you're a kid, you don't know that. So, like I said, I grew up with not a lot of means, but I had a lot of support. And I made it through high school, didn't have a lot of money. Academically, I was it'd be generous to say that I was iffy, right? My grades weren't so great. But I had enough to get to college. So I ended up going to Diablo Valley College over in Concord, right? And even then, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew you had to keep going forward. Actually, my mom told me, ever since I was like 7, she said, for your 18th birthday, I'm getting you luggage. Because you're going to be out there. There's no coming back. When you're 18, you're out, right? And not in a bad way, but you need time for you to launch, right? So I had that always in the back of my mind, front of my mind, you're getting out. And so I started at DVC, and I was studying business at the time. So I thought, what do you do when you're poor, right? You study the thing that's going to get you money. And so I thought business would be perfect for me. But I never really liked it that much. I thought it was valuable, but it wasn't really me. So I was fortunate enough, after I went to DVC, to transfer to Sac State. Sac State, I saw a Sac State poster on the wall over here. So I had a chance to go over to Sac State. And when I was there, I realized I really, really like science. I love just trying to think about the world in a different way. And science at that time helped me contextualize the world around me. And I thought it was the perfect venue for helping a young man in his 20s to figure some things out, right? Just gave me that nice context. So I studied science, and I really loved it. And when I was doing that, I got a chance to do research, and I really loved it. And I had a chance, through my research, to travel to Brazil and give a talk at a professional conference with all these PhDs and grad students in Brazil. I'd never done it before, but I got a chance to do it. Got to travel across the country, and I had all these opportunities that people gave to me through science, right? And then from there, I ended up getting my PhD at Cornell in biophysics, right? That's just these amazing things. I get to live in New York City, have all these opportunities given to me. This young, skinny cat from Oakland, all of a sudden in New York. My last stint in academia was at Columbia University, where I did a postdoctoral fellowship in neuroscience with a Nobel Prize winner. So I had all these chances, and all this stuff happened to me. And during this time, I was also working in education, but in a volunteer basis, because I realized through all that I needed to give back, right? I am one of the most educated black men to come out of Oakland in the last 50 years. I'm not the smartest, I'm not the best, but I am one of the most educated. And I want to make sure that that's not the case anymore. I don't want to be a one-off. I want to make sure that every young person coming out of communities that are underserved has that same level of opportunity. So that's why I do what I do. It's not because, I didn't ever dream to be in academic administration. My goal here is to give students opportunities to thrive, because I've been given those same opportunities. So now I'm working at St. Mary's College. Professor Henderson mentioned it's been for about a year and a half since I've been over there, and it's really a wonderful thing. So I head up the Caminos a las Ciencias program, or we call it the CALC program. So St. Mary's back in 2016 received a $2.7 million grant to put together programs for underrepresented students in the sciences. So first-generation students, minority students, all those students we're trying to help make sure that they have a chance to thrive in the sciences. So I oversee all the programs coming out of that grant. That includes having what we call our STEM center on campus, so science, technology, education, and mathematics, STEM. So we have a STEM center on campus where students can come and meet. They get lots and lots of tutoring. It's a social area. We also bring in academic role models. So one of the issues that we often see in students is that they don't see themselves in science, right? If you're a young Latina from the Central Valley, maybe you've never seen a Latina scientist, right? And so how can you say then, well, just go ahead and be a scientist, right? You don't know what it looks like. So we're trying to give them a chance to see what it looks like. So I bring in speakers from science. One of my last speakers was a chemist from NASA, Andro Rios, this brilliant Latino cat who talked about his chemistry on meteorites. He brought in a 4.3 billion year old meteorite to show the students. But more impressive than showing them a meteorite that's billions of years old, we're showing those students a brilliant young Latino working at NASA as a chemist, PhD, Dr. Andro Rios, right? So giving students that vision that they can do this stuff, giving students that vision of there is a path forward for you, right? So this is what I do. This is what the work that I have the great fortune of being able to participate in at St. Mary's. Now, I would like to also invite you, so if you had a chance to pass these out, I brought some literature about St. Mary's. If any of you are interested in coming to visit, I would love to have you as my personal guest. I can set up a tour around the campus. It's a beautiful campus. I mean, we have a gale in the audience today. So it's a wonderful place to, if you've never had a chance to see the campus, it's up there in the hills, about 15 miles from here, over in Moraga. Very peaceful place. So like I said, if you're interested in transferring, please see me. I'd be happy to connect you with the admissions office. I exchanged emails with the Dean of Admissions just before I left today, and they're very excited that I'm here to talk to College of Alameda and all of the students here. So like I said, I'm very excited about the work that we're doing at St. Mary's. And I like St. Mary's because it's not just your average university. It's what you call a liberal arts college, right? And with the liberal arts, they do a very good job of integrating both the arts and the sciences, right? And we have one of our young women, Adora Ezike. She's a chemistry major, but she's also into African dance, right? We have many other students who will take part in their science activities as well as in artistic activities. Sometimes one's more heavy than the other, but they're all often very much integrated. And this is the basis of the liberal arts education, a full integration of the arts as well as the sciences, and both held in very high esteem. Which is why I was so excited about this event, talking about the Quadrivium. And this idea of integrating the arts and the sciences may seem revolutionary, right? We talked about the idea of STEAM, the science, technology, education, arts, and mathematics. But it really stretches back way to like 380 BC or so, right? Plato talked about the idea of complete education incorporating arithmetic, geometry, arts, music, arts, and I'm missing one. And astronomy, thank you, astronomy, right? So, and then, we fast forward another few hundred years to about the 6th century, and they finally coined that term, the Quadrivium. So this idea that the arts and sciences, you need them together to make a complete, cohesive education is tried and true and has never been more essential than it is today. So I'm very happy to be able to be part of a program that helps to incorporate the sciences as well as the arts. Because if you think about it, like if you look at many artists, they are huge fans of the sciences. Conversely, a lot of scientists are huge fans of the arts. I was just reading about, are you familiar with Diego Rivera?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm reading his memoirs right now, and he talked about one of the things he did when he was younger was study anatomy, because he needed to know how to really understand, in order to understand his art, he needed to understand where his art was coming from. He needed to understand the human form. So he would study biology, chemistry, all these other physics, these sorts of things in order to inform his art. A lot of scientists love the arts. I'm a huge art fan. If you come to the STEM Center, where I do a lot of our STEM Center on campus at St. Mary's, you'll look across the walls, and there's tons of art all over the place. And it's science-themed art. It's a full integration of the arts and the sciences. Because I think in order to have a complete education, you need to understand both. So that's one of my favorite things about the Quadrivium. So that's all well and good. We know that a complete education includes the arts and the sciences, right? We've established that. But how can we use that as a tool to make sure that students thrive? Right? So that's the goal. It's not just to understand it, but how do we use it? And so I've been reflecting on this recently. What are the key elements between artists and scientists that help them be successful? And how can we use those key elements to help our students? So I think I've come across three main ones. And my three main ideas are preparation, creativity, and persistence. So preparation, creativity, and persistence. So preparation. Every artist knows, and every scientist knows, you need to be ready, right? What do they say? If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, right?
That's right. That's right.
So you have to prepare yourself for success. Now, and if you're a scientist, that might mean before you do a bunch of experiments, you go out and observe the world to try to figure out how to contextualize things. That might mean reading a bunch of literature so you know what's been done before you. If you're an artist, that might mean simply doing those same observations or just making sure all your brushes are ready, but you got to get ready. If you're a student, that might mean reading your books ahead of time before you even get to class. Get ready. That might mean making sure you go to tutoring all the time because you need to get ready for that test. Stay prepared. Right? So preparation. Creativity. Scientists, people don't understand that science is a very creative endeavor. Being able to see the world in a different way than someone else has seen it before is a very creative endeavor. It's the same creative endeavor that artists undergo, right? So when you see great art, it comes from a place of creativity and seeing the world in a different way than someone else has ever seen it before. That's what you connect with, that novelty, that newness. But latching onto something that's already old that you can see, it's that dichotomy, interestingly. And the scientists do the same thing. We see the world, but we see it differently. And there's a certain courage in that that's required to say, I can see this world differently than everyone else, but it's going to be useful for everybody else. And I think students need that, especially for students who come from backgrounds where they're not represented. I can see myself as a scientist. I've never seen it before. I've never seen my role model, but I know that I can get there. No one in my family has ever gotten there, but I know I can get there. Having that creativity, having that vision that will tell you, I can move down this path even if there's roadblocks ahead of me. And persistence, the final piece, which I think is probably the most important piece. As an artist, I'm sure when you folks started to work on these songs, you're like, oh, here's a scene, I'm gonna nailed it perfectly the first time, right? It took some time to really get there. Sometimes you bend to the note, sometimes you kind of wobbled around it, but after a while, see, you can do it, right? So it's that same sort of persistence. It takes time to really get there. If you're a scientist, I can tell you I've spent hours and hours, hours and hours in the lab trying to get a problem to work, banging my head against the same issue over and over again. But at the end of the day, it worked. Got a big fancy PhD out of it, right? Same? Yeah. Well, there you go. So scientists and artists fully understand and fully appreciate the absolute necessity of persistence. And I think with our students, that persistence is the key. But here's the thing. A lot of times people say, oh, like one of the things we need to teach students is how to thrive. If you are a first-generation student who's low income, never had anyone in your family go to college, and you show up at St. Mary's or College of Alameda, on day one, I know you have everything you need in order to be successful. Because I know all the obstacles you had to get through just to be here. I know you didn't have a path laid out for you that led you to college. You had to figure it out. You had to improvise. You had to be creative. You had to be prepared. You got here somehow, right? So they have that persistence that they already need. So my job is to say, let's take that and turn it into academic success. So that's the final piece. So preparation, creativity, and persistence. And with all those things and our integration of arts and sciences, I think we could really change these communities. And with that, I will thank you for having me here today.